What do you really know about your investments and your financial advisor? Gary Cinderbrandt, a veteran advisor and founder of Better Path Training, has spent decades helping both financial advisors and their clients get it right when it matters most. Gary pulls back the curtain on the advisory world to reveal the truths, the gaps, and the opportunities that most people never hear about, but absolutely should. It's about more than money. It's about legacy, trust, and making sure the people you care about are in the right hands. Welcome to If the Public Only Knew. Now here's your host, Gary Cinderbrandt.
Welcome back to If the Public Only Knew. I'm your host, Gary Cinderbrandt, and continuing with our recent trend of interviewing entrepreneurs who literally created something substantial out of almost nothing. It's my pleasure today to welcome the founder of Spinutech, Marc Reifenrath. Marc, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I look forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited for the conversation.
One of the things that I try and think about in this whole concept of the podcast that I put together is most people, when they view a business from the outside, they assume that it just kind of appeared one day. It's just there. Whether it's a company like Spinutech or a financial advisory business that might be running to several $billion, people don't really think about, well, who was that person before they were them? And you go back and you look at prior versions of yourself, never dreaming you're going to achieve any type of level. Now, my understanding is you started this with a couple of college roommates as a general idea. Walk me through that evolution, if you would.
Well, it's not that indifferent from where we're at right now in the market. You know, we're on the precipice of a possible bubble with AI and everything. Well, in 99, 2000, there was the dot-com bubble, and jobs weren't quite as readily available as for a about to be college grad I would have liked for them to have been. And so the idea was to simply have a resume builder, to stand out, to differentiate ourselves. So when I walked into an interview, I could say I've done X, Y, and Z and I think I call myself an interactive marketer.
Okay.
So the pre-term for digital marketing. But we ended up building our own content management system, which in 2000 nobody knew what that meant. And so we would show people you can update your website on your own, and that was mind blowing in those days, and literally changed the way that people could update their site. So that was our differentiating thing that we did in the beginning. But we won a few clients, and then it kind of gained a little bit of momentum, and it was, well, maybe this could actually be something. But to your point of you know, who were they or who were we before? We were college kids that didn't know anything, that were too dumb and fearless to, you know, not understand what we were trying to do. And we pushed through though, and kept pushing through, and hit our heads, got bruises, hard knocks. We joined the chamber. We won the local hospital. And then we got, you know, our world was very small. It was Cedar Falls, Iowa, where Northern Iowa is located. And we slowly expanded out and grew into Des Moines a little bit, got a few clients there, and thought, oh man, I'm going to go to Des Moines today for a meeting, and just slowly kind of overcame these obstacles. But we literally had people telling us, you know, oh, you're not going to make it, you're going to fail. I had a job offer to go to work for, it was a great, amazing offer. If a college freshman Mark would have heard that offer, I would have accepted it as a freshman to take 4 years later. And I had to say no and take that risk. And my dad definitely disagreed with that choice because of health insurance and the pay and all the benefits. But, you know, I think one way to look at it is, when are you willing to take risks in your life and when are you not? There's certain windows of opportunity of when you should and shouldn't, just like investing. And I think when you're younger like that, why not? What do you really have to lose? What did bankruptcy really look like for me as a college kid? It wasn't going to change my life a whole lot if I lost everything. I didn't have a lot to lose. Versus waiting until you're established, you know, and have some savings and everything. So there was a window of opportunity, but also, you know, luck is, you know, persistently putting yourself in the right position to be lucky. And we definitely did that.
Marc, walk me through, you know, I see a lot as I'm moving around the web, I see a lot of integrations on various pieces of applications or software. Your CMS product,
Mm-hmm.
Is that a product that you design in custom to sit on top of an operational platform like a HubSpot or something like that? Or how does that all come together?
So in 2000, I mean, there wasn't a lot of integrations happening, but that slowly started to become a thing. And yes, over time we integrated. So we built Whole Foods' first e-commerce website. We built Hy-Vee with from the Midwest, 400 plus locations, their first e-commerce platform, and integrated with lots of different platforms. If we fast forward to today, what we built then, it still exists and it's evolved over time, but that's become so commoditized. And so I think there's another important lesson here about uh, business and evolving and staying fresh. We started as just a web dev company, and we were very much a hunt and kill. We ate what we killed. That was it. But there's not a lot of recurring. We implemented some recurring revenue model into our business in probably 2005, just charging a license fee for that platform. And then we started to think about retainers, and then we had to get into digital marketing where there's the dollars were shifting, and so we've had to, in some sense, reinvent ourselves a few times to stay relevant and stay on top of it. And I think maybe what's interesting for this conversation is we're in the middle of that again with AI, marketing and the web and applications, websites, all of it is getting really attacked and redistributed on how you use the web and use everything. And it's attacking how we go to market for our clients because that funnel has become very splintered. It used to be very straightforward, start at the top, go to the bottom. Well, we're so all over the place as consumers and making decisions. We might look at a TikTok and then go to Facebook, then go to Google, then talk to a friend, then see a TV commercial, listen to a podcast, then go back to TikTok, and then finally fill out a form and make a call. But tracking all that's very hard, and each of us do that very differently. So I think the lesson here is always reinventing yourself, making sure that you're staying relevant and able to provide value for your market.
So I assume within your crew, um, you've got probably a transition going on, especially with the amount of, I guess, either writing Python or CSS or HTML. Um, I know somewhat what the initials mean, but not what they all do.
Hmm.
But now there are so many platforms out there that can really create that code out of plain language. Are you
Hmm.
finding that's accretive to your business, or is it a threat to some of your coders or engineers, or
I,
how do you see that?
I mean, I'm an optimist, so I see opportunity. I think that those agencies like us that figure out how to play this game appropriately will come out on top. And there's a lot of factors here. So how do we let the individuals that are on our team do what they're best at as many hours out of the day? AI, some of these different tools, some of the automation that allows them to get rid of some of the work that they're currently doing that is maybe not as efficient or, it's very costly for what we're paying them to do some of those tasks that can be taken over by a different path. And that is exciting to me, but I think you will have many people in the industry that maybe get a little too stuck in that transition and don't move fast enough that can get passed by. If I think about it from uh, how people invest in this market. So there's a lot of private equity and there's a lot of consolidation in our industry. Well, what would you like to invest in right now? An agency that has done it the same way for the last 20 years, or one that comes with a fresh story of saying, we've integrated AI. We're AI native. We think of AI first and then solve the problem. We've done all these things that make your dollar more efficient. We have found ways to get you a better, path through the funnel by using AI, but also using our really smart humans from a strategic perspective in the right places. That's a much more attractive story, right? If you're sitting there going, I've got, 100 grand, which one am I betting on, red or black?
Right.
Well, the one that's got the AI behind it is definitely the one you're going to be leaning into right now.
So as you look at the landscape and you look at, let's say, a bricks and mortar company like a Whole Foods that you mentioned before, where clearly there's a lot of applications where AI can help both extrinsically and intrinsically. And you look at their possible expansion or enhancement with efficiency using AI versus a company that is basically going to take advantage of it with a SaaS-based business, which seems almost unlimited at this point. How do you look at those? Do you look at those differently? How do you approach that from a corporate perspective as to what would your ROIs be? What would your milestones be? What kind of goals would you have for each?
Oh man. So, corporate America struggles with big transitions like this because they can't move fast enough. And this is not a time to be slow and you've got to take some big swings and some risks. But there's so much low-hanging fruit with all this stuff. And so just simply getting that flywheel started to gain some efficiencies, simply saying, can we gain, in this quarter, can we gain 3% efficiency across every team by implementing some standard procedures that, we know are very manual, and there's a automation process that can be put in place, or AI could be put in place. From a sales and marketing perspective, it's how do you 10x your sales team using HubSpot and some of these different tools that by just truly thinking through, HubSpot's doing a great job of integrating and allowing it to talk to different platforms and AI. So they've got a little bit of their own that they're baking in. But how do you allow what feels like a very tailored response from me, your BDR or your sales rep, where it makes you feel as though, man, Mark remembers my conversation. It feels very personalized. So that like those are some low hanging fruit stuff. I think the other problem is maybe people jump to the really complex stuff because that's really fun to theorize and talk about. But man, last year was kind of all that theoretical. Here's what we could do. This year has to be for a business, especially big corporate America, has to be the year of implementation and actually getting it moving forward. Otherwise, you're going to get passed by. So if I think about what I'm excited about from different companies, it's the ones that are truly making progress. If you spend any time on social media, you can see examples where, take a salon, for example. And what's the most annoying thing about calling to get your hair appointment set up? It's getting the schedule worked out. Do they answer? Well, what if that's automated with an agent that answers and says, and they recognize your number. Hey, Gary, welcome back. It's good to see you. Are you ready for your next hair appointment? Actually, yes, I am. How's next Tuesday? Well, actually, I'm out of town next week. I was thinking the following week. Oh, that's great, Gary. What day of that week would work best for you? And you say, well, I'm good Monday afternoon or Thursday morning. Well, what's Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. look like for you? That's actually perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. I've got you scheduled with so and so. And so it feels very fluid. To you, at some point, you maybe even kind of forget you're talking to an agent like that, but it made it a frictionless transaction. And
Right.
think about how many places in the buying cycle, simple and complex, that have so much more friction than is needed today. And
I
so
couldn't
that's where
agree
I get
more.
excited
Yeah.
about. It's the simple day-to-day things that we will become accustomed to and become very frustrated when certain businesses don't have that frictionless interaction that just isn't needed anymore.
Especially when you could probably do it with an agentic AI on your side to go out and make your decisions. It sees
And,
everything and
and
makes it.
so here's a good point to maybe call out is I think that's one of the evolutions we need to evolve to right now is we've always done web dev design and digital marketing. I think, and we're doing this, we need to accelerate our offering for our clients to do more of those types of things because that's the problem is so many clients don't know, okay, that's that idea that you just shared sounds great, Mark. I have no idea how to do it. Okay, well, we have a dev team that can do a lot of that for
Right.
you. And so that's a way for us to dig them out wider and deeper. It's a little bit tangential to what we would normally do, but I look at it and say, well, that's marketing operations. So we can do things that help create a better experience for the client that will help us for them sell more or get more leads down the funnel faster and make it stickier. And again, dig the moat wider and deeper for them.
So it's mindful of where we are right now. And you talk about, how we get the traditional bricks and mortar folks to think of this in terms of not just the usability. Yeah, it looks great, but maybe it's just kind of a fad. And I think back to people lining up overnight to get the first version of this beast, right? And it wasn't in the general public. You had the total Apple heads lining up overnight. Then you had kind of the early adopters who wanted to be with the cool kids. And then all of a sudden, people that might have been a little tech savvy are looking at the early adopters. You get to 40 or 50%. Then all of a sudden you've got the whole market. You might have your grandmother still with a flip phone a few years later, but you get that profusion and you don't even think about this anymore as anything other than, a latter day teddy bear, if you will. Like, where is it? It's not going anywhere without it. When I think about technology that really can shift how society evolves, and I think societal evolvement or evolution is paired with technology and always has been. whether it's invention of the wheel, fire, whatever it might be. Where are we in that cycle if we were to use, let's say, the invention of the iPhone um, way back when and kind of pair that with where AI is not just in the public consciousness, but as a commercially usable tool? Where would you put us in that evolution?
So we're still early. However, the pace at which this is occurring is faster than I think most anything we will have seen in the past. So if you could imagine us having this conversation a year from now, and we were to try to predict where it would be, we're going to miss the mark because we're going to undershoot it. And so uh, it's so rapid. Ideas that I had 6 months ago to me are irrelevant today, right? And I'm a visionary. I have 20 terrible ideas a day, maybe one good idea a day. But just dwelling on some of those from 6 months ago that I thought were amazing and how it could apply to AI, it's kind of irrelevant today because it's baked into some tool or somebody's already doing it. It's moving so fast. And so I think that this is going to be the next 24 months is going to be pretty interesting. I do think that we're going to see a decent amount of business failures because they will lack to adapt, and so how quickly will they die? I don't know. It could be fast, it could be elongated, but our standards of how we want to communicate, how we want to interact, and our expectations are going to change drastically. So think of some of these, brands and stores that you interact with on a regular basis, and we use their apps and we have loyalty points and stuff. Our expectations are going to continue to grow with that of them knowing who I am, what I want. Don't ask me. You already know. And so there's just some predictive stuff that will come with this that is going to make our lives easier. Or even groceries, using the app to scan my fridge or to make my list and adjust it or putting a recipe in. There's so many things that are very possible or are on some level already happening, but they are very disparate. Will be coming together collectively to make our lives much easier, and that will in some ways eliminate some businesses that are getting paid to do that today that'll just become baked into a phone or to an app or whatever. And there will also be opportunities though to make it better and more seamless and more integrated. And so, you've got the 493 right now. Well, where do the seven really come out on this? Who's going to win that? The All In podcast talks about this stuff quite frequently, if you've heard of that. And so there's interesting debates, but I think this is going to start to materialize more and more. Meta is trying to throw around $300 million packages to the smartest engineers in the landscape right now. That's insane. But it shows you how pivotal of a moment we're sitting upon at this time that a company, one of the big seven, is willing to throw that kind of money. That's not even a professional athlete. Like that's a IT nerd, right? Which
Right.
is great. I love it. It's our day is finally coming. But it's crazy to try to put a pin on how important of a time we're on right now. And there could be a little bit of a pullback, but also the rocket ship is going so fast. I don't know that any dip in the market can sustain because I think it will come back so quickly behind it.
Well, here, what's interesting is that the end product is just the recycling and recombination of knowledge that's previously out there, whether you're in a large language model or a generative model, an agentic model, whatever it might be. It's there and it's basically going to continue to evolve as the models get bigger and bigger. With the clients that you've had, let's say for the past several years, if you look at some of your clients, as you develop new methodologies, is that something you bring to your clients and say, look, we figured out a way where we can, instead of getting X here, we think this is 3X in a year. Here's what we want to do. Are you constantly looking for ways to improve
Yeah.
your clients' positions?
So I think, we can go down several rabbit holes here, but think about the amount of data that we all have as a business. And then just from a digital marketing perspective, we have all this data that we need to look at. And we do things where we look for the little nuances in the data that's the anomalies that are good and bad. And you try to then answer why was that bad or why was that good and what was the anomaly. But with AI and telling them to be a data scientist that's the best in the world for digital marketing in this industry, whatever, you gear them all up. And then to have it look for the nuances month over month, year over year, day over day, week over week, and the things that it would pick up on that you and I would never pick up on. That's pretty exciting to me. And then to say, well, what if we modeled out and put in more effort in this channel or more dollars here or made this tweak? Or what if we have a synthetic persona? So every business has personas of who they sell to. Those are the ideal people that they're looking for. Well, what if before we even launch a campaign, we run it through a synthetic persona? We're already doing that. And so we're in essence testing a campaign before it's gone into the wild and buying time. We're getting ahead in future by doing that. And what if that model just gets better and better based on performance and the creative? And so it's this compounding effect. And so for our world, I think it's pretty dang exciting to do things that I never even dreamed of. But it's almost like taking if you modeled the org chart on a client side and said, okay, we're going to mirror that along with mirroring our side as agents and having them work 24/7 and then allow our team and your team to work at a different level, but with that crew behind the scenes, it's fascinating to me. And I think that we're going to be able to do things that we never dreamt of. And for example, we may be literally marketing to each individual specifically for them as opposed to putting into these big bucketed personas. And there's, 7 million people that fit this persona for this business, and there's 500 million that fit this one or whatever. Like, we're going to get down to this is the path of conversion for this individual, and this individual takes this path, and so on.
Question for you. Most of the companies that come to you, are they pretty well established, or do you see startups with unique ideas that are looking for an identity and a turnkey solution? Where does that fall as far as sizing goes?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a lot of different businesses that we work with and scaling and range and size. Our who we present to market is going to be more established. We don't necessarily present ourselves to market for a startup, but we do get a decent amount of startups that will come to us, and that's kind of an investment too. We have to make sure we're investing our time and potential dollars into the right opportunity there. But typically they're established. We'd like to work with somebody that has a CMO or a marketing manager that is they don't have to we certainly don't need them to be 10 out of 10 on as far as what their understanding, but you know a 4 to a 7 would be ideal because then they're going to know what we're doing and can enhance it and make it better. When we can really partner and have both sides bringing their best to the table and we learn their business, they understand how we're thinking, and over time you kind of get that nice yin and yang going, and we can really accelerate growth. And when we pose questions saying, okay, we saw this and that worked, but we're actually not sure why. And they go, oh, it's because XYZ. And then you start to kind of find that magic and that rhythm. And we've done that with so many clients, and it's super fun to watch that evolution occur where, you start the partnership and you have big dreams. You do this and you do this and you do this, and all of a sudden it just starts to explode. And winning's just fun. I don't I'm a
Yes.
competitive guy, but winning is just fun. And so when you find that magic with a client, there's nothing more rewarding for me. I don't really care what it is, but when you find that combo and you can accelerate it and you tweak it and it actually works, that's just really addictive and really fun.
I imagine going back and having this business kind of founded on the back end of the dot-com meltdown. And, it was a situation where I think NASDAQ took 13 or 14 years to actually recover. Um, you couldn't have been as optimistic then, obviously, as you are now. So
No.
what got you through? It's not like you didn't have other opportunities or options to pursue. What kept you focused on this at a time when it just would have been as easy to look at the binary choice and say, to hell with it, I'm going to go do something else. What kept you focused?
Yeah, older Mark is probably harder to answer, but what I would reflect on is there was just a resilience of not wanting to fail and almost, gosh, I joke that I have carryover PTO from my 20s and 30s. I think there's a perception that people, oh, you start a business, you can kind of do whatever you want. No, you can't. You're living it. You're breathing it 24/7. Bless my wife for being as understanding and supportive as she was through that process because that was a grind, and there was certainly plenty of times where we were defeated. We didn't win the client that we thought we needed to, and got rejected. But what kept us going sometimes were those failures, and because it motivates you. Because like I said, I hate losing, hate it. I still have in a closet right over here rejection letters from 2003 and 4. And I look at them on January 1st every year because I want to remember those moments and how bad they sucked and not live it again. And so, when you have those setbacks in the beginning, when it's like, man, what's next month look like? What's next quarter look like if we don't win this? And you don't win it, and you've got to figure it out. There's a perseverance, and then at some point, there's a tipping point where you just kind of you gain the confidence, you get the momentum going, and it starts to take off in a different direction. And that took a long time for us. We weren't a huge company for, I mean, shoot, 2008, we were probably 10 people, 12 people. 2010, we were maybe 15, 16 people. 2012, we were maybe 25, 30 people. And then we kind of hit a nice little trajectory there. 2014 to 2020, we grew very rapidly, very quickly up to about 175, I think. And so, um, there's different stages though, too. So when you start, it's survival. And then you maybe get on this point of, okay, we're safe, but how safe do we remain? Do you want to take some more risks and grow more? And I think my original partners and I, we never had an attitude of quitting. My theory has always been if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
And so we just always had this, not more, but just we knew we needed to get better and we needed to provide a better service and hire the best talent. And so all those things just kind of, accumulated into this growth in a very positive way. The other thing I'll say is, oddly, we never focused on the dollars. So I know that's going to sound really, really weird to some people, but we didn't have budgets, we didn't have uh, goals necessarily that were financially related as much as we wanted to be the best that we could be. We wanted to make our clients as happy as they could be and make sure that they were, getting a really good value and they were delivering actual meaningful results. When we did that and we had the best team members and the best clients, the money stuff kind of figured itself out. Now, as we've grown, we've been much more aware and we do have budgets and, we've grown up as we've gone through our teenage years and are more in our young adult years, whatever. But we definitely, there's some lessons to be learned there about not spending your time looking at spreadsheets and trying to plan about the business, but actually just going out and doing.
So I noticed recently you stepped down as CEO.
Yes.
I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. What drove that decision?
So, I've been 25 years in now, and it's a grind. I have younger kids, and, there's also the success rate of founder to CEO is relatively low.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be ahead of that. I wanted to not, just like sports, I didn't want to leave the game when I was at the bottom again. You start at the bottom, you go to the top, you go back to the bottom, and then you leave. I wanted to try to leave when I felt like I was still in good stride, but also, I think that there's an opportunity to bring in. We've got a great CEO that we've brought in now, and she's doing really, really good. I want to be able to do the right things though in the background to help support the growth and the next evolution and next phase. You've probably heard my passion around this next phase of AI and how the work is going to shift. It's very exciting to me. Can I do that and be the CEO every day? Probably not.
Yeah.
There's a tough transition here, and so we're trying to position ourselves for being extremely successful in this next evolution. And I don't want to be doomsday, but there's going to be a lot of failures in our industry in the next 12 to 24 months. And
Yeah, I can see that.
and not just ours. I mean, a lot of businesses. We're in the Etsy phase of AI where there's all these startups that are saying they're bringing something new and but they're really just kind of crafting something from a bunch of different tools behind the scenes and making you pay 25 bucks a month or 50 bucks a month. Those are going to come crashing down, just like the agencies that, haven't adapted. And so I'm serious to our team, to our leadership team, to our CEO about we have to evolve quickly and do it the right way. Otherwise, it was a great run and we're done. And so I know that sounds so extreme, but I think we have to have that attitude right now to evolve and change.
No, I think you're absolutely on the right track because your passion clearly comes from the creative side, being an innovator. And if you're worrying about, making payroll or what your next quarter is going to look like, it kind of takes out some dream space, if you will.
Yeah.
In my world, we have something pretty similar. A lot of the financial advisors I work with have built these tremendous practices, They might be running $1 billion or two. They're making more money than they ever dreamed of. But as they function more as the manager or CEO of their team, which might be an 8 or 10 member team, they're actually pulling away from what got them there in the first place, which was the ability to get in front of a potential investor and create that sense of trust and empathy almost immediately, which is kind of their superpower. Instead of worrying about what's going on back at the office, which can be handled ministerially by a variety of other people. And a lot of times you'll see the growth of really talented people just kind of plateau off because they're too busy managing the day to day. They completely lose track of what got them there in the first place. So well done. For you.
Yeah.
I can just see as you talk about what this next iteration's going to take us, you guys seem like you're really well positioned to take advantage of that. So 5 years from now, where do you see Spinutech? What are you guys doing?
Well, hopefully we've survived the the AI bust and whatever that looks like. But I think that, it's going to look a lot different. The workforce is going to look a lot different. The type of people that we're all going to need to do the normal functions are going to look a lot different. So how do we today be AI native as possible? Find the talent that is thinking that way, train the talent that we have today to become that as well, and be that different agency. We've always at different times and periods in our existence, we've been ahead of the game. We've been different, and it's so muddied right now. And so I would love to say in 5 years we are ahead of the game and talking and doing things differently than most, so we stand out from the crowd. And from a legacy perspective, I've always wanted people that have been at Spinutech as team members to, whether it's their first day and they've been here for a year or 10 years, that they've grown, they've improved as a person. And so I would love that from just a human side that we've continued to really produce an amazing group of team members, whether they're here or not, that alumni is amazing, doing big things in the world, and the ones that are here growing and getting better. I think that that's one of the best things we can do as an employer is to, just have a great workplace and one that allows them for growth.
Exciting times ahead. So, Mark, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's a really fascinating conversation. I could keep going on and on with questions. I want to be respectful of your time. Just the overall sense I get is you have a company that empowers or actualizes intellectual capital, both internally and from your clients who come to you to find other ways to go. And I can't imagine a better time to be doing it than at the dawn of what we're seeing with AI. So thank you again for spending some time with us today. I'm sure our crowd is going to like what you said a lot. So our guest today has been Marc Reifenrath. Marc is the current chairman and former CEO of Spinutech, which you should check out. It's a really cool company. And Marc, thanks again. And I look forward to speaking at some point in the future. Take good care.
Thanks.
Thanks for checking out If the Public Only Knew with Gary Cinderbrandt. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to follow the show and share it with another advisor, investor, or friend. For more on Gary, or to check out any links mentioned in the episode, head to the show notes. We'll see you next time.